Yo, what is going on, you guys? So today I'm bringing guys a brand new sports cards video. In today's video, I'm going to be talking about the shocking fact that the hobby is really burnt out of investors right now, and it's mainly flippers and collectors. And I'm going to be talking about the reasons behind this and what I see being the consequences moving forward. Before we get into that, I did want to say this week's giveaway is going to be a Cade Cunningham Prism PSA 9. If you guys want to enter to win this card for free, all you have to do is subscribe, like this video, comment the word done. Those 3 simple steps enters you in for a chance at a free card. So definitely go ahead and do that. But without further ado, we are going to hop right into the video. So essentially what I've seen in this hobby is the lack of people buying cards in hopes that in the future the card will be worth more. I think a good amount of the hobby's buying power right now is filled of collectors, very long-term investors who are wealthy enough to where it's also a collecting item for them too, and then a bunch of flippers. Now, I'm seeing more flippers than ever in terms of people who are trying to buy a card for, say, 70% and sell it for 80% and make their 10%. So essentially what they're trying to do is buy cards from dealers or different people walking around with cards, and they're trying to find a collector to sell it to. So that is how they get their margin. And I've been seeing at sports card shows a lot of people who are buying, most people who are buying are saying, look, I'll buy this card, but it's got to be at 75% of the last comp or 80% of the last comp. And a lot of short-term investors that were there in 2020 and 2021 just buying up cards because they believe somebody is undervalued, that's really gone away. And it is pretty scary because it's really causing certain cards that are not liquid to really drop in value more than anything else, right? One key example is something like a Cade Cunningham. This is probably not a card that a flipper is going to want. It's a base Prism PSA 9, and that is why this card has gone down to, say, $15. Whereas back in the day, there would be a lot of people speculating on Cade Cunningham that he's going to be a star in the future, and they would happily buy this card for $15 in hopes that it would go up to $30. We're not seeing those people, and that is why the market for those types of cards is absolutely in the gutters. To be frank, I think a lot of players who are not in the spotlight are, their market suffers. And that's why we're seeing vintage suffer so much. For example, like a Vince Carter Topps Chrome. They've got their little collectors who will want that card. A little group of collectors who love Vince Carter cards. But other than that, there's nobody touching that card because it's not a liquid card that's going to move around at shows. So flippers don't really want it. Flippers are going to go for the newer players, such as like a Jalen Green National Treasures or a Jalen Green card or a Cade Cunningham card, a high-end card, or whatever it is that is in demand at that time. And so there is incredible opportunities that there are in the market when prices start to stabilize and investors come back and want these players. And I think if you are not buying right now and you're an investor who was buying during the peak at the craziest prices in hopes that prices would rise, I think a lot of people are kind of blind to how the market really works. I've seen, for example, even with my Kawhi Leonard card, in the beginning of the season, he wasn't really playing well. He was kind of injured, out of the spotlight. Nobody wanted it. Now, all of a sudden, he's playing well, and now people want it. The real opportunity would have been to buy it when no one else wants it and to sell it when more people want it. That is basics to making money in any market. You buy something when attention is away from it. When prices are suffering, that is when you buy it. Then when the player's back in the spotlight, prices have already gone up. And people are trying to buy it then. And I think that's a big mistake for investors out there who are scared to buy cards, to hold for the short term or the long term, because they're not in the spotlight right now. Injured players, for example. Right now, you're seeing nobody ask for Steph Curry cards. Everybody's asking for the new hottest player, right? And it just hardly makes any sense to me because I think the best opportunity would be to buy the player who is not talked about, and when they're talked about, their prices are up. So a lot of people I just see making the same old mistakes that they made in 2020 and 2021, which is buying when a player's hot, and hoping that they stay hot and the hype continues to rise. And then at some point you're just, You end up reaching the top. Maybe you already bought in after the top and you don't even know it because the hype had already been on the player. So I think it's just something that not many people understand. And I think a lot of short-term investors that have either one, got out of the hobby, or two, are chasing the next hot thing, they're not making as much as they should have, and they're complaining that they're not able to make money in this market because you buy a card and it goes down in price. Well, guess what? If you're buying a hot card right now, the demand is probably not going to sustain itself because of all these other cards that there's not much demand on. So the next hot player is always going to get all that attention. For example, when Lauri Markkanen in the beginning of the NBA season was having his hot streak, when people suddenly started to know his name, his cards were selling at all-time records. And so many people I even know were going out and trying to chase Lauri Markkanen cards. And what happened? They came back down to earth because the shock factor was gone. And now even if he puts up a 40-point game, people already know his name. People already know he puts up those numbers. So his prices are not going to go up much. So it's really about understanding where you are buying in at. If you're buying in when a player's already got so much hype around them, unless they really continue to take jumps, you're probably not going to see your investment do very well. And so I think that's something that I want a lot of people watching this to really understand. Like, I would personally say from my years of experience, the times where I've made the most money is when I've bought a player when nobody wants that player. Nobody wants that player. I remember in 2020, during the peak of the sports card market, when people were not really looking at Kevin Durant because he was coming off of his ACL injury, and nobody really wanted Kevin Durant cards. I even had some cards, and at one point I was looking for some liquidity to buy some other stuff. I posted them for sale. Everything else was moving. My Devin Booker cards at the time, he was playing well in the bubble. They were moving, but Kevin Durant cards, Steph Curry cards, anybody who wasn't in the bubble, they were not moving, and nobody wanted them. And all of a sudden, when they were in the spotlight and their prices had already gone up 2-3x, then everyone wanted them. And then those people were ending up just holding on to them because they went down after that, right? And so I think a lot of people are scared to go after things that other people don't want. And I personally see that to be the biggest opportunity. One prime example right now is going to be football cards. Football cards right now, I would say it's the beginning of the offseason, and during the offseason, people are not really going to be looking after football cards. I know a lot of people who are probably like, I'm going to buy NFL cards again when the NFL season starts. Now, guess what? From now to the NFL season, prices are probably going to be up 30% because the hype leading up to the NFL season is when prices really go up, when investors come back into the market. So for me personally, I always try to stay one step ahead. And I'm starting to stack up on NFL cards right now. And everyone's focusing on baseball because the baseball season's about to start. I was buying baseball 2 months ago. I actually made a video explaining that baseball was a really good buy 2 months ago. And guess what? Price is already up because hype is back to baseball. So it's just all cycles, right? And I think a lot of people don't understand that. It's not always one player is just going to keep going up. And if I catch it here, it's going to keep going up. No, I mean, players are going to have their cycles. When they're in the spotlight, when they're playing well, they'll be up. Then he'll go back down to earth, and then he'll come back up when he plays well. Look at Donovan Mitchell, for example. In the NBA bubble, he was up here, then he went down here, and then this season he came back up and started playing well. Same with Jason Tatum. It's just whole cycles that people, I feel like, don't really understand. Of course, I'm speaking in general terms. There's probably some of you smart folks out there that are already onto it and are buying players up when spotlight is away from them and selling when spotlight is on them and there's more demand on them. But I would just say be courageous. At some point, business is full of risks. And maybe not every card you're going to invest in is going to pan out the way you want it to. But I would say the ones that do, if you're using this strategy, the ones that do pan out, you can see 2 to 3x returns, even in today's market, 100%. I would definitely say that is something I've personally seen. One example, in the beginning of this season, I was investing in Kyrie Irving cards. I know it was probably looked down upon at the time. No one really wanted his cards. There was so much uncertainty, and everyone was just kind of selling off and scared and didn't want to touch it. And when he got traded to the Nets, when he got traded to the Mavs, I was able to get rid of some of his cards for around 3x what I paid for them. So it's just kind of supply and demand games, right? And if you're buying when demand is low, chances are when demand comes back, you're going to make money. If you're buying when demand is high, demand cannot stay high forever, especially in this market. And you're probably going to lose money when demand comes back down. And the same goes with supply, right? When a player is not in the spotlight, supply is high and demand is low. And those are the two things that are the worst in the market. That's going to cause the prices to stay the lowest. But when a player's in the spotlight, supply gets lower because people don't want to sell it. People become greedy and want more for it. And then demand gets higher because more people want it. And then that causes prices to go up. So I would just highly recommend do your own thinking, do your own research. Do not just follow what everyone else is buying, because it may sound like the right thing to do is invest in the hot player at the moment. But if you're following the herd, you could get burned. I'll just say the herd is not always right. The herd is actually hardly ever right. The best time people wanted to invest in sports cards was at the beginning of 2021 when prices were at an all-time high. Keep that in mind. In 2019, in the beginning of 2020, when the pandemic first hit and there was so much chaos in the economy in March 2020, people were trying to stay away from sports cards, and that was the best buying opportunity. So a lot of the times when people are the most scared is the best buying opportunity. And when people are the most hyped up and, optimistic is when it could be the time to stay away. And I think that's something a lot of people should know. So I really hope you guys use that. I know a lot of people say they understand that and they've got it down. But when it comes time to buy, when people are looking away from sports cards and don't want anything to do with it, they get scared as well. And I would just say, if you're courageous and you can buy during these times, when people are comfortable buying sports cards again and investing in sports cards again, you're going to really see a lot of benefits from buying now. And you can really, this is like the accumulation time where I personally want to get as much as I can. So when demand is back on sports cards, when the economy recovers, the sports card market is still healthy in terms of the people in it, the demand of people buying cards. The only thing that's not as healthy is the economy, which is causing prices to go down, in my personal opinion, right now. And of course, the COVID boom was a whole different story to where I think prices had to come back down to earth. But a lot of cards that have gone down 90 to 95%, I'm personally happy to buy in now and hope that they go back up. So I would just recommend you guys to stay courageous. Other than that, I hope you all enjoyed. Subscribe to enter into the giveaway. Other than that, I hope you all enjoyed, and I'm out. Peace.